So let us know your name.
My name is Warren Kinnear.
Warren Kinnear. So Warren, do you live or work in Ambridge?
I live in Ambridge. I play in Ambridge. I don't work. I'm retired.
Okay.
So when I get up in the morning, I do what I want to do.
Oh, look at you. I'm jealous.
Isn't that wonderful?
So do you, but I know you volunteer though also in Ambridge. Yes, okay. So how long have you lived here?
Well, I sat down and tried to think of it, and it's over 30 years now. I think we came in 89.
Okay.
And when Pat and I got married, she was transferred from Erie down to Old Economy.
Okay.
So when I re-met her, then, things all fell apart.
So a woman kept you here.
And woman came. No, Pat worked as the educator at Old Economy, and so I ended up volunteering many a nights in the gardens. And we maintained the Baker Garden for probably the last 30 years, and it's been an experience. Besides all the good food that you eat, but you grow vegetables to eat them. I'm working on the raspberry beds now because of the pandemic. We weren't allowed on the site for almost 2 years.
Wow.
And weeds just took over. And they choked out a lot of the plants. And so the raspberries is the next big thing to come. People were asking me, when's the raspberries coming back? And it's been an experience because I know how they're supposed to look, and I can't get them there yet. But it takes time. It's like anything; you have to give it time to make it happen.
I like that.
You know, and we were talking about, I was listening to the young gentleman talking about Ambridge and why he came back. You know, I didn't come back, I moved in. But, it's been an experience, and with Pat gone now, I really have nothing other than the gardens to hold me here. Because it's sentimental, and also it's something I grow to love. So it's like growing vegetables. You grow them to have something to eat.
Yes.
But you also grow them to see how nice you can make them, how big they can be. So it's been an interesting road.
Yes. Well, you've been here a good long time. So what would you say are staples in the community, aside from Old Economy?
Well, at one time we had some interesting programs. We were talking about the food festivals, and what did they call it then? Well, we still have some churches that have food festivals, but we had nationality days going down Merchant Street, and when we first arrived here, to go to nationality days on a Friday night, you had to know karate because that just didn't get through. There were so many people that you just had a tough time walking down Merchant Street.
Was it worth it though?
Oh yeah, all the food's worth it. And by the time you get to one end to the other end, you're hungry again, so you buy more. And I think that was a plan of the forefathers. Keep them hungry and then we'll eat more.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's a good Greek festival coming up next week.
Oh, okay.
So you need to go up to Holy Trinity, or Holy Ghost, I guess it is.
Yes, I think so.
Is it Holy Ghost?
Trinity. Holy Trinity.
It's up on the hill. It's a nice church.
Okay.
Great Greek food.
Yeah, Greek food is excellent, especially the grape leaves with the rice and the sausage rolled in them. Whatever that, what is that called? Do you know?
There's stuffed grape leaves.
Stuffed grape leaves. They are so good. Yeah. So you've been here. You loved Nationality Days. I think most people in Ambridge have mentioned that when we interview them. But I wonder, what would be your hope for the future of Ambridge? You've seen the past, you've seen 30 years of Ambridge, right? So what would you hope would happen within the next maybe 5 years?
Well, you know, you always need jobs in the town to keep people here.
Mm-hmm.
Most people that live here in town are retired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I sit in my porch and swing and watch the people going by, it's interesting how many people are retired that have their little dogs and they take them for walks at night. But, you know, the young people are who we need to make the town happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just got done building a brand new high school, and we spent millions of dollars in high technology. You know, why aren't we utilizing them more? You know, the population's decreasing, the classes are getting smaller, but it's great for the kids because they get a quality education.
With smaller class sizes?
With smaller class sizes, they if they want to learn, they can come here and learn. Now, every school has the ones that don't want to learn. And that is a challenge for the teachers.
Yes, there's that. Yeah. What would you hope our community might have for young people? Other than just education, like what do you do? You've been here 30 years. What were some of the things that you saw available for the youth?
Well, we always had fireworks on 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
And that basically has gone to the wayside because of the number of volunteers it takes to make it happen.
Mm.
And the firemen are all getting old.
Mm.
So when they have a fire call, it takes them a little while to get called out.
Mm.
But they also don't have, you know, the volunteers to make it happen. You have to have people that promote the event, goes out and collects the monies to make it happen. Fireworks aren't cheap.
Yeah. So we need more young, active people in the community.
Right.
Yeah. And you believe bringing them, maybe employment is a way to bring them here?
Employment or a reason to live here and then go out and work. You know, that's the nice thing about Cranberry is it's a close community and lots of job opportunities. And living down in the valley, it's kind of nice because the winters are a little milder. And you know, if you just drive to Cranberry on a snowy day, you can tell the difference between where the belts are. The snow belts up there are just nasty.
I just see, when I think of Cranberry, I think of it being more, I don't know the word that I want to use for it, because expansive is not it, but I see it more, I don't see it as closely knit. I don't know a better way to express it. But Ambridge just seems like, because it's so, especially Ambridge proper, sort of like downtown area, it's like everything is walkable and people are like you see everybody, you know people because you just see everybody over time. And Cranberry doesn't feel like that for me.
And it isn't that way.
Yeah, it's like there's stuff there, but I don't know that there's necessarily like that sense of community, like.
Well, Cranberry grew too fast, and it wasn't ready for the influx of people. When I worked up in Wexford area, I went up there to the banks on Fridays. That's when all the farmers come out. And and there's a massive traffic jam because there's only 2 lanes of road. Today there's 6 lanes, and they're trying to catch up, but they still haven't planned it well.
Yes.
And you have to have a good plan, and that's one thing Ambridge was fortunate to do, is because of the Harmonists being here, they basically had the town fairly well laid out before American Bridge came. When American Bridge came, they just set up shop and started business. And they didn't worry about where the people were going to live because they could live in the places that were left. And we were fortunate in that sense that we didn't have a great boom on building at that time.
So do you think, like right now, it looks like Ambridge is growing and revitalizing. So would you say we need good city planning to prepare for its growth?
Yeah, we need that. I was on the Ambridge Historical and Architectural Review Board, and my good buddy Dennis, he and I run a committee together, and I didn't really see eye to eye with a lot of his philosophy. He wanted to do everything by the book, and I says, if the lady is the owner of the building and she's willing to pay big bucks to put a certain type of shingle on the roof, let her do it. It won't leak. But Dennis and I went round and round because he thought everybody should have wood shake shingles. Wood shake shingles are only good for 10 years and they're done. Whereas you put asphalt or slate shingles on, they can last for 30, 40 years. So we had our differences, but we also had a good architect on board with the review board, and he since moved down to Georgia. I wonder what's in Georgia. Everybody's going to Georgia. But he was reasonable, and we could reason things out. The gentleman I listened to earlier was saying about how he wants to see new things happen. And I think it's important for Ambridge to have new things happen. But we also need to look at the old ways and see what worked and what didn't work. And if it didn't work, let it go. Don't dwell on it.
So speaking of that, what do you think is worth preserving?
Well, the buildings are worth preserving, but there's also the history. Ambridge had a fantastic history. The American Steel Union started here in Ambridge, and it started because a woman came out of her house with a rolling pin. They arrested her because she had a weapon.
A rolling pin?
A rolling pin. She was baking or whatever, and Steve Korczak down on Merchant Street, the lawyer, only studies 3 years of history, and it's the 3 years of the American unions. And Steve said that she came out with a rolling pin. The Pinkerton guards arrested her and hauled her away because she had a rolling pin. What was she going to do? Who knows? Maybe the guards would have had something sense knocked into her. But she was part of the movement that got started, and when Abel brought the union in and started to unionize the steel mills here, it was a good thing. So when we see what happened.
Do you remember the American Bridge building?
Yes, they had a fantastic stairway in it.
Really?
Yes. The stairway was made with a curve, and the railing was curved, and I think even the steps was curved. But the American Bridge building was classic piece of art.
Yeah.
And we toured that.
I know. I think that's one of our biggest mistakes.
Well, and that is a mistake. You
Yeah,
know,
it was a beautiful building.
We tear down Harmonious buildings too, and that's kind of a mistake. But they are trying to revive some of them.
That building, somebody told me the guy who built the Titanic built that building. Is that true?
I have no idea.
Okay. I guess his last name began with a H, and the building was like in an H shape. Yeah. I was like, that's such a good piece of history. But anyway.
Well, and I don't know if it was really. I might find it in here because this is the Pennsylvania room. But there's a lot of this history that's not really in writing.
I'm going to ask Julie about that H building, and is that true? Are the stories true about it? I was like, what?
Well, you know, yeah, there's so many stories that happens in Ambridge that we just have to go along with the flow sometimes. And so, okay, it happened. And the other thing that happened here in Ambridge, in I guess it was the 40s and 50s, you couldn't go down Merchant Street on a Friday night. Everybody would come to town. You know, everybody got paid at the meal, and they would all come downtown. And it became a parking lot. People would come down, they parked their cars in all the parking slots going down Merchant Street or up Merchant Street, whichever.
Yeah.
But they would park their cars, they would get out of their cars and walk around, visit everyone. And that was like a tradition to go to Ambridge on Friday night because that's where you see all your friends. But you know, and that's the other thing with Nationality Days. I remember Papin's Restaurants, the chain, and I think his name was Lou, I'm not sure. But he would run the Greek festival, or Greek booth down on Merchant Street down. And he would tell them how to make their gyros the right way. And people would hear him yelling and carrying on. But they just flocked up, and there was big lines just to get a gyro. It's because he cared about it.
Oh, yeah. It was a craft.
It was a craft. And he was one of the best.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still living or not.
I don't know. I think I know what you're talking about, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
You shared a lot, and it was great to hear your story and to meet you.